LGK DOC said, would you like to move up for Hamilton? Honestly, I don't think we have to. I don't. Because here's the thing with Hamilton. I I've watched so many drafts in my life. If there's one thing I noticed, safeties fall. I mean, I believe the best safety I've ever seen entered the draft class was Derwin James. Derwin James, when was he drafted? And I don't think Hamilton can actually be drafted. Derwin James was drafted 17th overall. I mean, I couldn't even believe how much he fell. I mean, I know Jamal Adams was drafted 7th overall. I might be missing some other names, but Derwin James was I was outstanding safety. And then you look at what these players have done for their team at the NFL, and they're not as impactful. I mean, safeties are important, but they're not going to impact your team as much as a corner would, as much as a quarterback would, as much as an elite wide receiver was, or a blindside blocker. So no, I don't think the Vikings should trade up for Hamilton because it's not going to impact your team as much as a corner would, as a quarterback would. These are the positions that you want to trade up for. So first of all, I don't think the Vikings would have to. I think Hamilton can easily fall to the 12th overall pick. He might be. A lot of people are saying he's the second. What would you say? If you're making a list of most talented players, they would put him second. But he can easily fall out of the top 10 because he's a safety. I mean, look at Jamal Adams. He was drafted 7th overall. Jamal Adams might have been a blitzer, might have been a pass rusher, and done everything for the Jets. He goes to Seattle. He hasn't done very much. I mean, you don't see safeties impact a game as much as other positions would. So I don't believe the Vikings should, and I don't believe that they will. But if he falls to 12th, that would be great for us to take him there. And it can happen. It can. I know a lot of people are talking about Hamilton being drafted in the top 5, and I see why, because he's one of the best safeties to ever come into a draft. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to happen. You got to see, here's the thing. I say taking players based on, you can't dismiss position. So positional needs is not, you have to look at left tackles, looking at corners. You have to look at quarterbacks. You have to look at players who are going to impact your team the most. That's what typically you see players taken in the top 10. You see that go to them, because look at even Jamal Adams, who was taken 7th overall. The Jets were still not making the playoffs. The Jets were not able to really do much with Jamal Adams. The best thing Jamal Adams did for the Jets was the Jets trading him away to Seattle. That was the best thing Jamal Adams did for them. Don't think it's going to happen. LGK DOC says Sauce Gardner 6'2", Tariq Woolen 6'4", for cornerbacks in the draft. Woolen reportedly ran a 4.2. I would love to see that. Corners are so entertaining. I'm going to be intrigued to watch these corners NFL scouting combine this year, because that is what I'm looking for. Because here's the thing with corners, and this is why I love the Vikings taking a corner. They are, compared to how you talked about Hamilton, corners impact a game tremendously, especially in a pass-heavy league. Having a lockdown corner is so important. And if we can get Sauce Gardner, which don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, people talk about Derek Stingley, Tyreek Woolen. I mean, if we can get one of these corners at 12, which we should be able to, because this is a very deep cornerback class. If we do get one of these cornerbacks at 12, it will impact our team a lot more than Hamilton would. It would impact our team a lot more than taking Linderbaum would. These might be some of the most talented players, some of the best players entering this next draft class. But at the end of the day, they're not going to impact the game as much. They really won't. Centers aren't as impactful. Safeties aren't as impactful, especially when you can get a safety in the 3rd round and still plug him in as a starter. I mean, look at the Vikings, who drafted Cam Bynum in the 4th round. Cam Bynum was the best defensive player for the Vikings, defensive rookie for the Vikings this last year. He can be a future starter for our team. I mean, you really don't need to take safeties in the 1st round until about the 20th pick. Still, Hamilton, excellent safety. I would love to see him have a successful career. I think it's going to happen, but we see safeties fall a lot, like Derwin James. I couldn't believe him falling to 17th overall. I believe that was a 2018 draft class, if I can remember right. Still an excellent safety. And he's had a great career in the NFL, don't get me wrong. Just hasn't been as impactful for the Chargers as another position would have been. Maybe if they took a corner, they'd be in the playoffs this last year. I mean, position is just so important when it comes to players based off of their position, because there's so many great safeties. There are so many great safeties, but there are so few great corners. And having a lockdown corner is crucial in the NFL, especially in 2022, where all teams do is pass. So I would love to see the Vikings bring in a corner who typically year 2, year 3, they start hitting stride. Well, we're not expected to be a Super Bowl contending team until 2 years from now, 3 years from now, where these corners can be our future cornerback 1, our starter, our lockdown guy. Hopefully this can happen.